An athletic speedster added to Iowa football's class of 2023. We will sit down and chat with new Iowa commit Alex Mota. Plus, Iowa basketball poised, ready, and red hot heading into the month of March. And Iowa looking for a new quarterbacks coach following Ken O'Keefe stepping down from his on-field role. All that and more coming up during week 189 of Brada's Branded Thoughts. This is from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Are you a Hawkeye fan living in Story County? Well, if you are, great. If not, we've still got you covered. Introducing From the Hawkeye of the Storm, your source for original Iowa content from the Eye of the Storm, the Hawkeye of the Storm, Ames, Iowa. That's right. Our Hawkeye platform, hosted by StoryCounty.News, strives to offer a unique perspective that you won't find anywhere else. Despite living amid the sea of red that is Cyclone Country, we make it our aim to entertain and inform Hawkeye fans everywhere. From live programming following an Iowa athletic event to our on-demand podcast, Brada's Branded Thoughts, which you can access through YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Anchor, Amazon, and more, our goal is to always offer cutting-edge black and gold content. In addition, catch our weekly college football picks throughout the season as you get prepped for the weekend ahead. And the great thing about all of our content is it's all free. Join us regularly here at From the Hawkeye of the Storm, and be sure to subscribe to our sister channel, Iowa Football at the Voice of College Football. That's Iowa Football at the Voice of College Football on YouTube, as we have teamed up with Mark Rogers and former Iowa football assistant coach Don Patterson to bring you live post-game shows after every Iowa football game. Watch, chat, and even call in to let your voice be heard each and every weekend this fall. Want to learn how you can further support us? Visit our video description on each and every YouTube video we publish, and then, of course, enjoy the content. It's From the Hawkeye of the Storm, hosted by StoryCounty.News, for the best Hawkeye content in the area. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our subscribers on YouTube. We have officially reached 1,000 subs. Thank you so much. And again, please continue to tell your friends, like our videos, helps us to grow. Iowa basketball, red hot. 5 of 6 now Iowa has won. Of course, their one loss coming to Michigan prior to the Juwan Howard debacle. But Iowa now sitting at 9-7 in the conference. And I said a few weeks ago on this very show, I said plainly, and I'm not the only one who has said this, I stand by it, that Iowa is in the tournament as long as they go 10-10. I think 9-11, there's a possibility they get in if they get a game or two in the Big Ten tournament. They are in regardless of what happens in the Big Ten tournament as long as they're 10-10. So that means they would have to lose out to be 9-11. What a turnaround. Now, we have to understand this, that Iowa has played some of the bottom-tier teams in this conference. Their schedule, Tom Izzo brought it up after the game last night, that Iowa's schedule largely front-loaded as opposed to Michigan State, who has a back-loaded schedule. Iowa, of course, 5 of 6 now won, beating Minnesota at home, Maryland on the road, Nebraska at home, Ohio State on the road, Michigan State at home. Those last two are impressive. To beat Maryland by as much as they did, to put up 110 on them and then absolutely blow the doors off Nebraska and win by double figures against Minnesota. This has been an impressive 5 of 6. I don't care who you're playing. And now Iowa gets 2 more games that they should absolutely win. You get at Nebraska on Friday, at home against Northwestern the following Monday for senior night. Take a look at the standings, because as we see the standings starting to shake out, I mean, the pecking order is certainly starting to make itself clearly apparent. Purdue, Wisconsin, Illinois, all tied in the loss column. You've got Ohio State at 10-5. The real surprise is Rutgers at 10-6, fighting for a tournament berth. Of course, they had early losses to Lafayette, UMass. That hurts them in their tournament chances. But Iowa, Michigan State, they're both locks right now. I mean, for the most part, they would both. I mean, Michigan State and Iowa, I think both would have to lose out to have any chance of not making the tournament. I know some people may disagree with that notion. But again, I believe if Iowa's 10-10, they are absolutely in. Michigan, you see fighting now for the tournament. Juwan Howard. This, by the way, these standings up to date prior to the games on Wednesday night. So if you're listening to this podcast after some games on Wednesday, these standings have not reflected those results. But the point is, Michigan, Indiana fighting for their tournament lives, and you can, I think, make the statement, barring some unbelievable run in the Big Ten tournament, Penn State, Northwestern, Maryland, Minnesota, Nebraska, all very much out of the race. So what does it mean for Iowa? Keegan Murray red hot right now. Iowa's playing a lot better defensively. They are now in the top 80 in Ken Pomeroy's defensive efficiency ratings, which is impressive for them to move up that much. They've moved up 40 to 50 spots over the course of the last month or so. That is telling because, of course, Iowa, that is based off your schedule, and Iowa has found a way, despite a large sample size thus far, to make some pretty drastic improvements. And we saw basically 40 minutes of defense against Michigan State. We've seen Iowa at times, especially second halves. Iowa seems to get better defensively. Certainly was the case against Ohio State. I didn't think they played very well defensively early, but man, they put it together for 40 minutes against Michigan State. And by the way, congratulations to Luka Garza and everyone else who was honored on Tuesday night, including the late and great Roy Marble. But just a terrific night for Iowa, rocking Carver Hawkeye Arena, and Iowa has an opportunity now to win 7 of 8 and potentially more if you can go on the road and win at Michigan, which will be a tall order, but they've got a chance. Senior night Monday, get your tickets if you have not already done so, and this, I think, is going to be Jordan Bohannon's last game at home. If he finds a way to come back for a 7th year, I think the world is coming to an end. So, again, get your tickets. There are plenty available. The other big news, of course, in Hawkeye Nation, Ken O'Keefe. We've talked about that on the YouTube channel. Ken O'Keefe stepping down as Iowa's quarterbacks coach. Certainly the question is who will replace Ken O'Keefe. And there have been a number of names tossed around. You've got Drew Tate being mentioned. Of course, he's now at UNI. You've got Chuck Long, former Iowa coach and quarterback. He is in the mix, at least from the fan base's perspective. David Rye, former Iowa quarterback, and of course he's been a coach a variety of places, including in the NFL. He was most recently the OC for a very brief stint at Vanderbilt. I'll tell you my top 3 candidates, and you have every right to disagree with these candidates. And this is just me coming up with this. This is just me and the research that I've done, and certainly I'm not trying to claim that I'm doing more research than anybody on this staff. I give Kirk Ferentz the benefit of the doubt that they are doing a thorough search for the right man to coach the most important position on the football field. But my top 3 candidates would be, first, Randy Hedberg. Randy Hedberg from North Dakota State. Of course, he's coached the likes of Carson Wentz, Trey Lance, Easton Stick. He's got a tremendous track record. I think at this point, if I'm Iowa, I am absolutely targeting Randy Hedberg. I mean, he is the best. I mean, you just look at the numbers. You can look through FBS schools. You can look through FCS schools, Power 5 schools. You're not going to see anybody who's better qualified from an NFL development standpoint than Randy Hedberg. Yes, I know he's in his 60s, but he's a Midwest guy, okay? He's not making a lot up there at North Dakota State. This would be an opportunity to get a guy who has proven himself to an unbelievable degree. And keep in mind, Carson Wentz was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. So he would be my number one priority if I'm Iowa. We got to hire a young guy. If we're going to hire, if the main criteria is age, then we got serious problems, okay? Because age has nothing to do with coaching quarterbacks. It just doesn't have anything to do with it, especially not at Iowa. Iowa's not running a spread offense. You need somebody that can teach the fundamentals of being a quarterback at this level, and Iowa has not had fundamentally sound quarterbacks in quite some time. Randy Hedberg's my number 1 coach. Number 2 on the list would be David Yost, former Texas Tech coach, former Oregon coach. He has been a variety of places, was also at Mizzou at one time. He's credited for prepping Justin Herbert for the NFL, Blaine Gabbert, Chase Daniel, Brad Smith, Jordan Love at Utah State. This guy has some serious credentials. Was let go at Texas Tech recently. Of course, the Red Raiders have had some problems in recent years. He is now the OC at Florida International. Could Iowa offer him enough to where he'd want to move up the country, up into the Midwest, coach at Iowa as a QB's coach? Man, I'd have to think you're paying $650,000 or so to Ken O'Keefe that Iowa would have enough money to get it done. David Yost is my number 2 candidate. Number 3 on the list would be Bill Lynch. Now, you're going to say again, he's old. He's in retirement. Why are we going after him? Bill Lynch has an impressive resume as an offensive coach. Of course, you know his history at Indiana. He was most recently the head coach at Depauw University, which is, of course, not Division I, but he's very successful at Depauw. And right now he's in retirement. So here's the deal. Kirk Ferentz is going to be here, we assume, 5 to 7 more years. 7 years at the max. So whoever you hire here, you have to assume that they're probably just here for 4 to 5, 6, maybe 7 years. Now, maybe Bill Lynch doesn't have 7 years, but does he have 4? Does he have 5? I couldn't care less what the age of Iowa's next quarterback's coach is. Again, they have to be able to teach these kids the fundamentals of football. And Bill Lynch, who does not have a job right now, and maybe doesn't want a job, but at least I would make that call. He's a Big Ten guy. I think he would do a tremendous job here as Iowa's offensive, or QB's coach, I should say. I'll give you my dark horse. And again, I have no idea if this would work. I have no idea if Kirk would be interested or if Don would be interested. But how about Coach Don Patterson? And I know for some of the listeners that have listened to my post-game show with Coach P, I am friends with Don. So yes, I'm biased. I get it. I know Don's 71 years old. But Coach Don Patterson would be a marquee selection. Okay, he lives right there in Iowa City. He was the OC with Hayden Fry. Okay, he is the all-time winningest coach at Western Illinois. He is an offensive guru. He's coached every offensive position, I believe, but O-line. If I'm Kirk Ferentz, and maybe I go after those other 3 guys first, okay, I don't think you can go wrong with any of the 4. But if push came to shove, I would call Don Patterson and get a feel. I would just have a discussion. And I know Kirk Ferentz is good friends with Don, so maybe those discussions are being had. But again, you say what you want about age, okay? If that's your first criteria, then you probably shouldn't be hiring. You shouldn't be involved in the hiring process. And I'm not saying that Iowa is prioritizing age. I sure hope not, because, I mean, your head coach is in his late 60s. So that would be where I would go. Again, Randy Hedberg from North Dakota State, David Yost at Florida International, Bill Lynch, who's in retirement, and another guy in retirement, Don Patterson. Criticize me if you want. Leave your comments below. If you have a different opinion, you are absolutely entitled to your own opinion. Believe you me, as it relates to Don Patterson, there is nobody that loves Iowa football and would have, I think, even at his age, more of a passion to turn around the offense and help the quarterback room than Coach Don Patterson. All right, moving along here to the big recruiting news over the week, or over the past week. Of course, Chase Brackney, defensive lineman out of Colorado, a little over a week ago, committed to the Hawkeyes for the class of 2023. And another name Iowa has added to the class, Alex Mota, Marion quarterback and turned wide receiver, or soon to be turned wide receiver, Alex Mota, expected to play some wide receiver his senior year and then play receiver at Iowa. They get a pledge from Alex. We sat down and spoke with Alex over the weekend. Let's give our attention to Alex Mota, the newest addition to Iowa's commitment list for the class of 2023. Enjoy. Pleased to be joined by Iowa 2023 commit Alex Mota out of the Marion area. And Alex, again, appreciate you joining us here this afternoon, and certainly a busy time of year and an exciting time of your life as you've committed to play for the Iowa Hawkeyes. First of all, what's life been like these last few weeks? I know that the offers really were tough to shuffle through because you had a lot of options out there, but what was it like finally being able to pledge your commitment to Iowa?
For me, it was finally being at peace, I would say, for me. So, yeah.
But finally being at peace. And so what sold you on Iowa? I mean, this again, we're talking, and I don't have them all listed here. I'm going to throw up a banner so people get an idea for the big boys out there. Wisconsin, Nebraska, Missouri. You reported offers from Iowa State, Miami, Ohio, Kansas State, Iowa Central. So, I mean, I might be missing some. You had interest from Notre Dame, Indiana, Louisville, Vanderbilt, Northwestern, Michigan State. So you had some options out there. You could have went a lot of different places in the country. Why stick with Iowa? Of course, you're a local kid, but why stick with the Hawkeyes?
To me, it's definitely what persuaded me was they wanted me as a receiver. And I've always wanted to be a receiver deep down inside because I've always worked out receiver. I think I'm fast. I can catch the football. And another factor was it's like 30 minutes away from my house. So I can always come see my family, and they can always come see me. So that's
Absolutely.
Really,
That's a blessing, man. You're gonna enjoy having your family there every week.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and we can jump right into this, and we can kind of jump around a bit. but I always like to ask Iowa commits or Iowa signees what their weaknesses are. I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of speak on what you think you need to improve on. But when I look at you on tape, and again, I'm just looking at a small excerpt. I'm looking at highlight film. Certainly don't have the amount of exposure that the Iowa coaches do. But I see speed and elusiveness, at least from what I've seen, even watching you as a quarterback, what stands out on film. The one thing I had a question mark for, because you mentioned before we went live here that you have not played wide receiver since your freshman year?
Yeah, I was a running back freshman year.
You're running back freshman year. So here's the deal. I'm looking on tape, and my only question is, do you have the hands to play receiver in the Big Ten? So how do you answer that question? Do you have the hands? And certainly you have. I'm assuming you'll have an opportunity to showcase that during your senior year.
Yeah, I do, because last year, 7-on-7, I was a receiver then, and most of the routes were like slants, ins, goes. I think I dropped the whole season like 3. I think I dropped like 3 catches the whole season. I had like 50, 60 targets the whole year during 7-on-7. So I think my hands are pretty good. I always do tennis ball drills. My hand-eye coordination is pretty good. I played baseball, so I know how to catch footballs, baseballs, basketballs, all that stuff.
What's it been like playing quarterback at Marion? I mean, that doesn't seem like that's your natural position, but you did it. And certainly from what I've seen, you're the best athlete on the field when you did so. What was it like being the head of the offense?
It was a little bit overwhelming, but not too much, because to me, it was a surprise that they wanted me at quarterback. And then I went in and did the job. I remember last year, we won a playoff game last year. This year, we didn't do very well this year, but next year, I think next year is the really selling key for us and our team.
And what's the plan? I know we talked about it before we went live, but can you kind of fill our listeners in on the plan for you? Because you do project now as a wide receiver at Iowa. So what's the plan your senior year? I'm assuming you're switching over to receiver.
Yeah, receiver and then running back.
So you got a quarterback in the wings, it sounds like. Perfect. So I'm curious. We just ran through those offers. Again, Nebraska, Iowa State. Did anybody offer you as a quarterback?
Kansas State did once. I told them not to recruit me as a quarterback.
Kansas State wanted you as a quarterback, and you told them not to recruit you as a quarterback?
No.
You know, you are probably, and I don't know this, but I'm just speculating, you are probably one of the few high school athletes that would turn down a Big 12 quarterback offer, but you are realistic, and you believe you're born to be a receiver.
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome. All right, so the current group of Iowa wide receivers, we know the list. Of course, Charlie Jones and Nico Reganey, Charlie Jones certainly, but Reganey possibly going to be moving on after this coming year.
Yeah.
Of course, Arlen Bruce, a young guy who's certainly going to be a big part of your career. I'm sure Keegan Johnson as well. Deontay Vines is a young man in that room as well, and Jacob Bostic as well as Brody Breck. So from that group, knowing what you know from that group, and I'm sure it sounds like you watched a lot of Hawkeye football even this past year. Is there anybody on this list, first of all, that you admire as far as their playing style that you believe is sort of similar style wide receiver to yourself?
I think my similar style is probably Arlen Bruce, I would say, because the way I know their offense, a lot of the ways gets him the ball in jet sweeps and all that stuff. So I think that's similar to me, because that's a lot of things that we're going to be doing this year. A lot of jet sweeps and motions, and get the defense on their heels and their eyes move in different directions.
Alex, that was one of the things that again, watching you on tape, even as a quarterback, I'm thinking to myself, you put this guy out wide, you're going to be seeing him running in motion a lot, getting jet sweeps. So what about punt? I'm just curious, punt return, kick return, do you have any experience doing that? Do you have plans to do that?
I did it. I kicked return sophomore year. They didn't kick it to my side very much, so it was always to the other side. And then I never punt return, but this year I'm going to punt return and kick return.
Because as you know, Charlie Jones is one of the best in the business doing that, but he's going to be gone in 2023. So that is I would expect that to be a wide open race. And so that will be intriguing as well. Is there anybody on the current roster that you're close to that you formed a bond with already?
I've talked to Zaire Nwampa. We've kind of hit each other up here and there. I've seen him in public areas, and I talked to him at the Iowa facility. So I think me and him are getting pretty close together.
Everybody says he's a great recruiter. Is he as good a recruiter as Brian?
Yeah, I would say so.
That's awesome. Okay, so Brian Ferentz was your primary recruiter. You have a relationship with Kelton Copeland. What have those guys been like as far as talking? Again, you being so close to Iowa City and really being a homegrown product. What have they been like in the recruitment? What sort of a relationship do you have with them?
Coach Brian Ferentz, I think for him, it was being real with me about how recruiting is and what they have on the table for me. And then I just started talking to Coach Copeland. I just called him the day after I committed. That's the first time I talked to him, and he seems like a very genuine person, and I think it's pretty good.
Now, you also have played defensive back in high school. Was there ever any thought that potentially you could end up playing defensive back at the college level?
I wouldn't prefer to play DB, but I think if I were to play DB, it would be a safety more than a corner because I can track people down. I can tackle the running back. I can tackle an open space. But I think DB is that's definitely where my weakness is at, is playing cornerback instead of safety.
So you never really, my understanding is you never really announced a top 3, top 5. I'm curious, why didn't you?
Honestly, I don't know.
Well, it just seems like there's a lot, you have recruits nowadays that they like, I'm not saying that it's wrong to announce the top 5, but they like the fanfare, and you just seem no nonsense. Like, I'm going to Iowa. That's it. Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah, I'm a pretty straight through person. Know what I want to do and what I want to do and like where I want to go and all that stuff.
That's awesome. You'll fit right in with Iowa. There's no question about it. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your Marion high school experience. This is obviously Marion has given you a lot. You've given a lot to Marion. What's it going to be like moving on next year?
Like out of Marion?
Just moving on from Marion High School. I mean, that has to be bittersweet.
Oh yeah, I think I like the teachers there a lot. The teachers help you a lot. They've gotten me ready for college, I would say, because I'm taking a lot of business classes next year. Because I think I'm going to major in something in business. And then I'm trying to get my welding certification and like plumbing and all that stuff through Kirkwood next year.
Nice. So,
yeah, Marion's has always been there for me. My friends there, all my family's there. And this is I would say a great area to be at.
And have you been in Marion your whole life, Alex?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's it like growing up I know what it's like growing up in Iowa because I grew up in Iowa, but what's it like growing up in Eastern Iowa?
I don't know. If you're going to look for trouble, you're going to have to look for trouble if you live here because there's nothing out here except cornfields and cities.
Don't you have the Quaker oat plant over there in Cedar Rapids?
Cedar Rapids. This is like 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away from my house. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's exciting, right? You drive by the oatmeal plant. So people who aren't from Iowa kind of feel like there's nothing to do in Iowa. It's the middle of nowhere, and to an extent, they're right. Am I right?
It depends where you're at.
Depends on where you're at. But what are hobbies that Alex Mota likes to take part in, other than football, of course, and track and basketball?
Well, I'm an Iowa kid, so I've hunted, fished. Me and my friends will play Xbox. It's right next to me right now. What else? Then we'll shop at the malls. We'll go to Williamsburg, a little Nike outlet over there.
Yeah.
We'll have like little team get-togethers at basements at people's houses. This little laid back, just chill at their houses. Run some like Madden tournaments for money sometimes. All those games and stuff like that.
You go to, you were telling me that people in your family have had Iowa football season tickets for quite some time. Do you go to Iowa basketball games?
No, I've never. I don't remember.
Have you been to an Iowa basketball game?
Iowa basketball game.
Okay. Yeah. Do you go to Iowa football games?
Yeah, I go to Iowa football games. Yeah.
Okay, but you are a basketball. So talk about your multi-sport background. So you are a track star. and a basketball athlete. What has being a multi-sport athlete, and I'm assuming that probably appealed to Iowa. They tend to like guys who are involved in multiple sports, but what have those other sports taught you?
Competition, I would say. Competition, trying to win. And if you lose, get back up and try to win again, stuff like that.
And certainly one thing that Iowa fans, I can speak on behalf of a lot of Iowa fans, that they want to see more of as far as the skill position or just skill positions in general, specifically receiver. They want to see more speed, more elusiveness, more athleticism. You at 6'1" have an opportunity to provide that. So certainly, to me, that stands out on tape. That makes you unique. But what does, in your opinion, what does Alex Mota bring to Iowa that will stand out?
To me, I think definitely my athletic ability, my ability to like beat the DB. I would say more than 50%, no, like 90% of the time. Because if there's a jump ball, either I'll come down with it or the ball's not being caught at all. That's what I would say.
And sometimes you have to have those defensive back skills as a receiver, right?
Yeah.
So that has to be a big plus as well. Okay, so I asked you this earlier. Go ahead, Alex.
I was about to say, because playing DB, you know what a receiver do, or playing receiver, you know how a DB works. So
right,
kind of like fits together.
I'm curious, before we get to your weaknesses, being a quarterback, I'd have to think that being a quarterback also helps you understand the wide receiver position. So although you may not feel like you fit in as a quarterback, or that's certainly where you project, how has being a quarterback helped you to understand both sides of the passing game?
Probably where the receiver needs to go, because if they're running zones, you got to fit the ball where the zone is at, where the weaknesses are at, where the soft spots are at. So that kind of helped. That translates to receiver where you need exactly where you need to be at, and like how you need to get there or when you need to get there.
And I'm assuming leadership. You've probably been able to really develop your leadership skills.
Yeah, probably more than, I know, sophomore year. I was a little sophomore, so we had bigger seniors, so I wasn't really the leader. I was led with my playability and my playability, I would say. And then junior, we had some seniors, but I was starting to talk a little bit more, get out of my comfort zone, get out of my shell. And then senior is definitely going to be where I'm going to be the one telling where everyone needs to be and work harder, get better, play smarter, play faster, and all that stuff.
What would you say if you had to give one reason why you selected Iowa? What would that one reason be?
I would say family.
No, that's a good reason. That's an excellent reason. All right, weaknesses. This is always a tough question sometimes because, we're self-promoters, and especially when you have to be a self-promoter. You're trying to get to the next level. You have done that now. You're committed to Iowa. We anticipate you'll sign in December.
Yep.
What are your weaknesses? What does Alex Mota need to improve on during your senior high school year?
I would say probably study the game more. That's what I watch a lot more film, learn the terminology of football, and just become a smarter player. I would say leadership to get the team going. And then for me, probably get faster, get stronger, probably gain more weight too, I would say, healthy weight.
And you mentioned before we went live that you really want to get a better understanding of the offense, which is, I'm sure, going to help you coming to Iowa. Do you have a desire to enroll early? I know it's still early, maybe too early to say, but is that a goal of yours?
It would be a goal for mine to come in early to learn all the, Iowa playbook and all that stuff, but I also want to enjoy my senior year too. Don't got to take it too fast, but also just want to be able to hang out with my friends and stay here for a little bit longer until I actually have to leave in the summer.
Yeah. You only go to high school once, so that's a good way of looking at it, and certainly you have time to make those decisions down the road.
Yeah.
All right, final question for you, Alex. And again, it's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit this morning and or afternoon, and hopefully we can chat with you again down the road. But what are your goals? You've talked about some of your goals for high school, your senior year, but what are your long-term goals? It could be anything. It could be the NFL. It could be a career. It could be helping your family. What are some of Alex Mota's long-term goals?
I think My first long-term goal is get a college diploma first. And then for my short term, I would say uh, I've been hitting the weight room for like the last 3 weeks, so I'll probably hit the weight room a lot more.
Yeah. Well, again, you are going to be welcomed with open arms into Iowa's offense. Again, Hawkeye fans are excited to see you in black and gold and to see the speed and athleticism and quickness and elusiveness that Hawkeye fans want to see on Saturdays. So, Alex, congratulations on your big day, and hopefully we'll chat with you again in December.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
As I stated in my reaction to Alex's commitment from over the weekend, speed and elusiveness, okay? We'll see. I mean, hands-wise, he seems a pretty confident kid in his own hands, but I'm going to be very intrigued to see how he plays his senior year. He's already getting some really high major offers, the likes of Nebraska, Wisconsin, Kansas, Kansas State. He mentioned that Kansas State wanted him as a quarterback, which is an interesting tidbit. But his athleticism will be utilized. And I thought it was a great comparison when he kind of compared his game to Arlen Bruce IV. So congratulations to Alex Mota and his family, an Eastern Iowa kid. How cool for Iowa to be able to retain him and for him to get an opportunity to play on scholarship for his home state team. Appreciate you listening this afternoon or evening or morning, whenever you listen to this podcast. Of course, it's available through Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, Breaker, whatever your podcast platform, your preferred platform is. Search From the Hawkeye of the Storm and find each edition of Brada's Branded Thoughts, as well as our post-game shows with Coach Gary Close and Coach Don Patterson for football season. Appreciate you listening to Week 189. We will talk to you soon. I'm Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm.